Hey guys, I'm the Hydrangea Daddy, gardening here in Zone 7A. It's the end of August and it's time for another garden tour. This time we're going to start in the front. Starting in this front bed, again we've got a little bit of new growth here on these variegated Green Mountain boxwoods. I bought these last fall in September and put these in when we redid these front beds. So now I'm on the lookout for another one because I need to replace this limelight hydrangea tree here, which is far too big for the space, which we knew, but we had to replace a dying Alberta spruce at the time. Separately, what's in bloom out front here, I have got this variegated liriope, which is starting to put on its purple blooms there. My green velvet boxwoods aren't doing so great. They all got moved last year, but we've got some leaf drop going on here. Originally there was some spotting which has cleared up, so I'm hopeful that they're gonna push through and I don't have any issues with blight, but if I do, they may need to come out. Again, my controversial limelight hydrangea tree that will be far too big for this space. I know that. It's gonna move. It was temporary and it's coming out this fall. Over here, Little Jim Magnolia, still in its first year, pushing a lot of blooms and a lot of new growth. Love the smell of this. And again, Supertunia Vista bubblegum spread around the tree. Supertunia jazzberry here in this planter. And then moving on to the south side of our house, this is a full sun bed, gets full sun all day long, sunrise to sunset. And this is where I have my pufferfish hydrangeas here. This is their second full year in the ground, and unlike some of my other panicle hydrangeas, they do not, start to turn that blush pink, blush red as they age and antique. You see that they actually hold on to quite a bit of their white color as they age. The grass everyone always asks about, this is dwarf fountain grass, Hamlin. Anna's Magic Ball, arborvitae here, kind of getting swallowed by the pufferfish, so I just need to scoot those out a little bit, and then this grass is also going to come out. Some various perennials here. This is Pink Profusion Salvia, which is kind of done putting on its full show for the season. Cat's Pajamas Nepeta and opening act Pinkadot Phlox there. This is Jontar arborvitae, which is finally starting to put on a little bit of vertical growth, maybe 5 or 6 inches for the year. More Supertunia Vista bubblegum. And then I made a video about this yew the other day. This is Stonehenge Skinny Yew from Proven Winners. Grows 6 to 8 feet tall, only about 12 to 18 inches wide. These hydrangeas here have a beautiful mix of new blooms and blooms that are turning red. This is Firelight Tidbit hydrangea here. Again, another Anna's Magic Ball arborvitae. And then these two trees here are Sugar and Spice Thuya. They'll only grow about 3 to 3.5 feet wide and 10 feet tall or so. This one, you can tell it's not as dark green as this one. It's newly planted in the ground last fall. It has struggled a lot this summer. I get a lot of wind coming down here the south side of the garden, so it is prone to drying out. So I've tried to keep it moist the best I could, and I'm pulling for it to stay alive. Moving on, these are my little lime punch hydrangeas here, full on into their antiquing phase. Supertunia Vista bubblegum planted around them. It did not do well this year like it did in prior years and like this plant does in other parts of my garden. You can see it's very leggy, just light foliage. It's not as dark green as I would expect. I think probably just didn't fertilize it enough. These are emerald green arborvitae here. I put these in only 2 or 3 years ago at 5 feet tall, so they've put on some growth. These annuals here are vinca. This is another one of those Stonehenge skinny yews. And then this row of trees that goes down here, the corner of our fenced-in property, these are Sting from Proven Winners. They'll grow 12 to 18 inches wide, 15 to 20 feet tall. Planted these from 2-gallon shrubs earlier this spring, so they're still focusing on root development at this point rather than any vertical growth. Another one of my favorites here, Little Gem Magnolia. This one's got a ton, if you'll come in here, a ton of pollinator activity. Look at the bees just loving their lives here. Moving on, this hill here is the bane of my existence when it comes to mowing the lawn. We planted this bloodgood Japanese maple here earlier this spring, but the ultimate goal for this hill, and I'll start sharing posts and videos as we start the project, but the goal will be to landscape this entire hill so that I don't have to cut it anymore. So right now I'm just focused on designing that and figuring out what structural elements I want to put in other than this tree, thinking potentially getting some boulders brought in, maybe some steel edging to use as many retaining walls, no more than a foot or so high, just to give it a little bit of interest. So that'll connect over there from where that row of sting is over to this bed. Again, this is another sting. I forget what type of Veronica that is. More cat's pajamas, Nepeta. This is a limelight hydrangea tree. Doing a little bit of leaning. It's got a lot of blooms on this side, so just need to stake it back up straight. Underneath here are my these are tiny quickfire hydrangeas. They're kind of getting smothered out by this Helen von Stein lambs here. I planted this from quart size earlier this spring, and it's kind of really come into its own. It really loves this spot. Doesn't get a ton of moisture here because it drains down the hill, which is what it likes. So it's really thriving, and I'm gonna have to move these tiny quickfire hydrangeas out from under here. One of my favorite tiny accent evergreens here, again, still just getting established. This is Tater Tot. Coming down here to this part of our property, this entire screen right here we planted last September. So I've got a mix of green giant, arborvitae, and then skip laurels. Right now it's still in the morning, so we're in the shade here, but by full afternoon I get full sun right here in this bed. So I've got a big project coming up here where I'm gonna fill this completely with perennials, and I'm super excited to share that with you. A couple different sizes of green giant over here. I had 3 that were about this size that I had planted in a row. The deer got to one of them. There was a buck who was scraping his thorns up and down the trunk and just shredded it off. So it's not that he ate it, but he just shredded the foliage. So I happen to have an extra one from another order of trees, which is why this one is so much bigger here. Coming back around, this is not the prettiest part of my garden. This is my little woodland garden area. So I've got some English boxwood, some rush, some ferns, some heuchera. I have some astilbe here also. This is dark side of the moon astilbe, which is a plant which can take both sun and shade and is supposed to be deer and rabbit resistant, though the fact that everything has been eaten off of this would suggest otherwise. So I need to get down here and spray some of this heuchera and this astilbe with deer and rabbit repellent so that hopefully they survive. In this crescent-shaped bed here, I've got some maiden grass. This is pink profusion salvia that had to come out from another area, so I just threw it in here. And then these 2 shrubs here are show-off forsythias from Proven Winners. They really want full sun, and they're not getting that right here, so that's why they're not really full. They've not put on a ton of new growth, so they probably need to get moved out into a sunnier area. But for now, they're just gonna stay here. This is my laurel hospital. These are cherry laurels, which we used to have in another part of our garden. They just never thrived there, so they've put on quite a bit of growth since they moved here. And I guess, eventually I'll hedge this out, but we put them here to see if they would live, and obviously they have, so that's great. This is a row of green giants we also planted last fall. When we planted them, they were the same height as me, so they've already put on almost 3 feet of growth. I can't even touch the top of them anymore. So probably within the next year or so, this will fully close off and give us some privacy here on this part of our property. This is a row here of that same fountain grass that I use everywhere else. I had taken one out, divided it into 4, and it's living its life there. Coming back into the fenced-in area, this is where I planted that mass planting of vinca. It's loving its life. 3 bobo hydrangeas accented around this little gem magnolia, as well as 3 green velvet boxwood there. Here's my hedge of junior giant arborvitae. So unlike green giants, these stay much more narrow at only 3 to 5 feet wide at full maturity. Let's see, again, another tater tot arborvitae here, some more Helen von Stein lamb's ear. Over in this bed, since the last garden tour, these begonias have put on a ton of growth. Happy to see that, love to see that accent of pink here in this bed. So we've got the begonias, the green velvet boxwood, and then these are 3 more little lime punch. Wanted to share another project I've got upcoming. I'm pulling out all of these little lime punch, pulling out the green velvet boxwood, and then eventually pulling out the begonias as well. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull all the green velvet boxwoods to the edge and add a few more. We're gonna make a very small hedge, probably no more than 18 inches by 18 inches. And then I'm gonna be planting these Let's Dance Skyview hydrangeas behind them. This area of my garden does get enough sun for the little lime punch, but it also gets enough shade that these Let's Dance Skyview would love their lives there. So we'll be planting these 3 there behind it, and that'll give us the beautiful pink and blue blooms. Continuing up the north side of the garden, 3 more emerald green arborvitae here, Patriot hostas, cherry laurels, this is the newest bed I've got, so tater tot arborvitae. These are tiny tough stuff hydrangeas. They're just now starting to bloom. They've been focused on root development most of the year. Tater tot, Patriot hosta, which got eaten by the deer, though surprisingly they didn't touch my hydrangeas. So you know what? Whatever. Eat the hostas, leave the hydrangeas alone. Now we're circling back to the front of the house. Another little gem magnolia here, Super Tunia Vista bubblegum, my golden globe arborvitae in the back, Green Mountain boxwood. And then this one here, I've talked about it a few times, but this is Jazz Hands Mini Loropetalum from Proven Winners. It stays super compact at about 1 foot tall and 3 feet wide. I cut this one all the way back to the ground. After the winter, it had completely died back. I had 2 others here that completely died, so I pulled those out and these were replaced. But having cut this one back at the beginning of the spring, you can tell it's almost the same size as the ones that I replaced it with, and I replaced them with 3-gallon shrubs. And then last but not least, we've got the maple trees in the front yard, which have put on more growth in the past month or so than they have since we planted them. We planted them from extremely large caged burlap trees. So this one here is an October Glory, I believe, and this one is an Autumn Blaze. I may have that backwards. One is orange and one is red in the fall. Beautiful colors accenting our house, but that about does it for our August garden tour. Make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you get notified when I post new videos, and I'll catch you next time.